Your host, Dwan B. Intelligent-ish talk, intelligent shit talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door. You're listening to Hotepish with your host,
Listen to this part very closely.
Intelligent-ish talk, Intelligent Shit Talk, where
Listen.
we balance the profound with the profane.
Yep.
Political satire,
Yep.
celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solution.
Yep.
Leave your feelings at the door.
That part right there. Leave your feelings at the door. I got to give these warnings out every now and again. Leave your feelings at the door, especially the men. Funny part about this show, it's very rare. It's very rare a woman gets emotional in the comment section or in the comment section at the end of the show. It's always the dudes. It's always the dudes throwing hissy fits. Fellas. Gotta do better, man. Let's get through let's see if we can get through a whole video today with no male hissy fits. What's up to everybody in here? I don't have time to say what's up to everybody, but y'all know who y'all is. That's right, he who thinks. Tell me how you think, not how you feel. That's the truth right there. I am all for sharing thoughts. I'm all for sharing information. I'm all for exchanging ideas and opinions on what you feel is the best approach. What I'm not here is for your feelings. That's what I'm not here for. That feeling shit got to go. It gotta go, fellas. We should be able to have differences of opinions without feelings getting in the way. Oh, Steve Urkel ass niggas. Y'all remember Family Matters? Feelings. Nothing more but feelings. Remember when Steve Urkel was singing that after Laura turned him down for like the 19,000th time that episode? That's what you niggas sound like. Yeah. But we here. I appreciate that, Breeze Omega. It is New Black Media Appreciation Month. I don't call myself that, but if you guys want to bestow that on me, I'm cool with it. I'm not out here to put my name on things and to say I belong here or I belong there. I'm just out here doing what the hell I do. But if y'all put that on me, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I'm not gonna do that whole I deserve this and I deserve that. And DwannBrown don't play them games. But if y'all consider me part of the New Black Media, I'll take it. I'll take that. 'Cause I still look up to Professor Black Truth. That motherfucker right there be breaking shit down all the way. And I fucks with Tariq, the Black Channel, Fly Nubian Queen. I don't listen to them as much because once I done got the stories from Tariq and Jason Black, usually, and Professor Black Truth, usually I'm off into studying I'm focusing on what I do. And that's researching the history of music, laying my drum samples down, running my businesses and all that other good stuff. But yeah, we gonna talk about Urban X. I love Urban X. I haven't seen them like they felt Urban X is falling out my algorithm. I went back and listened to them yesterday for some shit like a month ago. Just like, man, I ain't heard. They fell out my suggested. So I've been having to manually go back to Urban X and catch up on some of the stuff that they've been talking about. Black Dot Malcolm. And I love Brother Rich's channel, Black Magic 363. That brother be giving you he be putting people in front of you that'll give you the keys to opening your mind. So that's another person I really like, Black Magic 363. Brother Rich. I won't necessarily call him media because he don't talk about the news, but he talks about the things that get your mind right. Brother Ronald Hurd, salute to them. Salute to Ronald Hurd. Yes, and salute to Needy Fuller too. Y'all know I try to catch Needy Fuller when he's on the Carl Nelson show, because Carl Nelson asks pretty good questions, and Carl Nelson don't really let them trolls call in. You know, Carl Nelson know how to cut people's questions short. Love Needy Fuller, but it's just still sometimes a struggle, and I'm not gonna say anything about. Much love to Uncle Bobby, Brother Bobby, Mr. Bobby. Yeah, salute to Mr. Bobby. And I'm going to leave it at that. But sometimes them people can call in the Needy Fuller show. And it'll take 45 seconds to read the question. I'll be like, God damn, get to the point. But, oh yeah, 5150. 5150 is a definite. I'll be listening. I'll be listening to 5150. I don't be in the chat room like that because usually when 5150 on, I'm doing something else. Kind of got that on in the background. Yeah, 5150 Nation, stand up. 5150 is one of the shows that really got me on YouTube. Like when I first got on, I would just look up certain videos on YouTube. Then after Hidden Cutters, that's how I found Tariq's channel. Well, I found Tariq's channel after Hidden Cutters, and then through him is how I found Professor Black Truth, and then from Professor Black Truth is how I found Jason Black. So I would listen to them a little bit, but I didn't listen to them a whole lot back then. But when 5150 started getting consistent, like around 2015, I started listening to 5150 a whole lot, and then I started listening to Tariq consistently since like 2015, 2014. I started listening to Professor Black Truth. Professor Black Truth always listened to him consistently since the first day I found this channel in 2013. And then I started listening to Jason Black consistently around like 2016. Yeah, man. And salute to y'all who watch Craig Facts. Salute to y'all who watch Craig Facts. And salute to Zoe Williams. I gotta call Freeze Love. We ain't talked in months. I check in with Freeze every now and again, and I gotta check in with Freeze, see what he up to. Freeze is my nigga. Freeze Love is my dog, man. When it comes to people I genuinely love and appreciate, Freeze Love is at the top of that list. Me and Freeze did a show together every Thursday for like 6 months, back like in 2016. A comedy show. 2016, 2017. But yeah. I got to get into Gus T. Renegade's interviews. I remember him when he was with Needy Fuller, but I didn't really follow him. What's Gus T. Renegade's new channel? Because the channel I have ain't posted like in over a year. I do remember him. Post Gus's new channel, because the channel I have, he ain't been on in over a year. But I'm talking about all of this because it all goes into what we're talking about, death of free speech. I'm just noticing some things that are going on right now with media, with big media. Oh, he's on the Turn-In app. Hey, can one of y'all, because I'm talking right now, can one of y'all please do me a favor and email me wherever Gus T. Renegade show is? Like, email me the link info@hotepish.com. Somebody please do me a favor, because I got a lot of things going on right now. I don't want to be typing and talking. I'll be fucking shit up. Because somebody email me info@hotepish.com. Send me the link to Dusty Renegade's his show. I would love to follow it. Nah, Black Maroon, you didn't miss too much. We just catching up on the people in only black YouTube that we like. Some black new media, some of it just entertainment. But that's all we're talking about, because that segues perfectly into what we're talking about: death of free speech. It's a question I ask, because free speech is always under attack. It's always been under attack. And info@hotepish.com, not email. info@hotepish.com. Although I do have a catch-all on hotepish.com, so really anything you send to @hotepish.com will work, because I got the catch-all on that. But info@hotepish.com. Well, anyway, this particular show today is dedicated towards just an overall view of the United States, historically and present. When dealing with white supremacy, sometimes you gotta take a step back and look at the white supremacist moves amongst each other. When you do that, you get a pretty good context of what's going on today. When you look at how this country works historically and now. Understanding white supremacy, understanding how things works, being pro-black, being black first, is also knowing that you live in a larger society. Black first means black first as far as priorities go, but it doesn't mean black only. Sometimes you gotta take a step back and see what's going on in the big picture across the nation, across the world. And through getting that big picture, you can be better strategically when it comes to your black first mindset. So this broadcast right here, we're gonna be talking about what on the surface level is white folks' problems, but it's really the problems of us all. And through looking at this problem, and what we seeing going on here, we can get a good understanding on how to act and react today. Y'all dig what I'm saying? So, in a move today, Elon Musk was brought on as an executive board member at Twitter. He's on the board of directors. Why is this a concern? Well, it's a concern because you have one of the world's richest people, someone who makes his fortune off of a lot of techie things, taking on the board of directors influence in one of the largest media companies on the planet. Make no mistake about it, social media is media. People get their news and information from social media, from the links that are shared on social media. Even the newspapers get their biggest and highest share rates through what's sent around across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, yada, 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 yada. So, why is this a concern? It's a concern because what's going on right now in media, we've been going through this since the 90s. The what do you call it? The conglomeration of media. This has been going on since the 90s and the Telecommunications Act of 1996, where you only have basically 6 companies that own all of media. When social media busted out in the 2010s, that was a direct challenge to old media. So when we look at the biggest owners of media right now, number one is Wikipedia, aka Google. Because Google also owns YouTube. So when people like looking for history and looking for, Wikipedia likes to jump out and say that, hey, we're independently funded and we need funding from you to stay open so that we can stay. You know that bullshit Wikipedia is always talking about. We need to be able to stay independent, so we need your money. No. They're actually owned by Google. And then we got Fox. And then we have CNN. AT&T being the largest shareholder, which I ask you a question. How can a digital media company own a TV media company? Should that not be conflict of interest? Follow me here because I'm making a large point. Don't get ahead of yourselves in the chat room. Just pay real close attention to what I'm saying because I'm making a 360-degree point. I'm going from start to end, back to the start. So follow along, please, please, please follow along. And before I say anything else, hit the like button, please. I look at my videos sometimes, I'm doing terrible on the likes ratios. Come on, because I be forgetting to ask y'all to hit the like button. So please, hit the like button. Thank you. You see here, EW Scripts, they own a lot of your local TV stations. That's Warren Buffett. That's his company. You got ABC News. ABC News, they're kind of being funny here. And this is off of Harvard. This is off the Harvard website. ABC News is also owned by ESPN. That's the same company, ABC, ESPN. Same company, which we saw further up here. I don't know, what do we see? No, not there. No. I'm going to see later on. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. ABC News, which also owns ESPN. NBC, which owns Telemundo. And they also own Comcast. How do you own a cable company and the news station? That should be conflict of interest. CBS. And then you get to Yahoo News. And then MSNBC, which is also owned by NBC. They're being very not upfront. Hearst Communications owns half of ESPN. And Hearst is who I'm going to jump to when I get to making my larger point. Keep in mind, keep that in the back of your mind, Hearst Communications. So we see here, the largest media company on earth is tech. And then you have your terrestrial stations who also have the terrestrial stations who own media. They also own Verizon, Comcast, the places that control your internet. And Yahoo. Now you got Elon Musk getting on the board of Twitter, which eventually he's probably going to end up buying it out and getting major ownership at some point. And let me also remind us who owns the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos, one of the major media companies in the world. So I'm bringing that up as a caution to the things that we see. We got those of you who remember the internet, how it used to be before 2010, where you basically say anything you want. And then how since 2010, 2011, you've seen a slow change in the limit in slow limits in what we can say online. Facebook, I'm currently I'm in the middle of my second 30-day Facebook jail ban this year for using the word crackers. My second 30-day bid I'm in right now on Facebook. Twitter put me in jail last week for 24 hours for talking about the reparations bill. They're slowly limiting the things we can say and do across media platforms. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there has been a movement in Congress over the last few years, well, since Trump was in office, to rein in big tech. Trump was trying to do things, and again, this isn't an endorsement of Trump for the stupid people that are out there that think just because you're pushing a political agenda that favors you, you mean you favor that person. I don't favor none of these politicians. I favor agendas. And one agenda that I did support that Trump was pushing for was a bust up of the monopolies of the tech industry. I'm sorry. That's one of my very annoying tenants calling me. I know they're calling me because that's the tenant that plays their music real loud. And the other people in the building are real mad right now. So that's that tenant calling me to tell her story. Not answering the phone right now. And don't be surprised if you get some official paperwork on your door if you turn your music up louder again, lady. Now back to what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Told you I run a lot of businesses. And I also got a few apartment buildings. So that's always some busy work for me to be doing. My apologies to the people listening. Back to what we talking about. Nigga Rob McCoy said my tenant in the chat too. Fuck you. You a fool. So when it comes down to it, we have a major movement that's happening right now. Hold on one second. I'm in the middle of a meeting. I will call you back as soon as I'm done. Thank you. God. Damn. All right. Thank you, Sean, for emailing me the Gus T Renegade podcast. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I lost my damn train of thought. God damn. Where was I at? Yeah, Ben Frank, AT&T. Yeah, AT&T's part of this. Yeah, so he says she gonna get the homie get my video flag now. And y'all got jokes, nigga. Y'all got jokes. Y'all got jokes. But going on right now is an effort to rein in big tech. Big tech has a monopoly going on right now with the internet. And in this, what made me think of this doing this show today was this article in The Nation released this morning. And it's talking about all of the money big tech is putting into Congress. With this bipartisan antitrust bill targeting big tech, industry giants have been showering both Democrats and Republicans with tens of thousands of dollars in contributions. Their political action committees, executives, and lobbyists have targeted both critics and supporters of the legislation, which is aimed at reining in some of the most powerful tech companies in the world. I'm not going to read the whole article, but it goes into talking about how Google's PAC made maxed out contributions of $15,000 to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Now, mind you, when you read these articles like this, know that they're only going to talk about what's above board. Even when they're giving the appearance of criticism, they're never going to go all the way, because articles like The Nation depend on big tech. So they're going to talk about it, but they're never going to go all the way. So for that, you have to use your common sense and use your wisdom of how things really work. You know that there are always some sort of, allegedly, backdoor deals. There are private donations. Usually a lot of these billionaires own private foundations. Private foundations can take in as much money as you want, and those private foundations don't have to report how the money is used, no more than 5% of how more than 5% of how that money's used. So this is what's happening above board. But like I said, you know, these Congress members and these major corporate heads also own private foundations and charities in which these major companies, that's where they really lay in the dough and the money. That's really how they pass the money around. So what we're seeing is at a time that tech is at its highest maximum strength as far as monetary power, they're donating that money. He said Apple executives dropped 66 grand on Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. That 40-ounce Amy Schumer, that 40-ounce shaped Amy Schumer's family member. Wonder why she's so damn famous. When your family member is out of New York, getting that kind of money dropped on them, majority leader, you can pull a lot of strings for your talentless 40-ounce shaped relative with little to no talent. Call herself jumping in the middle of that Will Smith fiasco. I can't stand that bride. But back to what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. You see here bride money getting thrown all across the place, from Amazon to Apple. Oh, and one thing I didn't point out in this, when I was pointing out the largest media owners, look who is one of the owners of this one here. Which one was it? Was it this one with Apple? Which one was it? It was one of these. I can't find it. Well, you guys go ahead and look it up, because one of these is owned by the wife of Steve Jobs. She's the one of the largest contributors to one of these. I thought I had it marked, but I don't feel like slowing down what I'm saying to go back to it. But what we see here is, what I'm trying to do for you here is draw a connection between who owns the media, what's running the media, and what gets talked about in the news, and who gets shitted on for bringing it up. When they kicked Trump off Twitter, that's something that all Americans, no matter what side of the fence, blue or red or independent, should have been an alarming concern. That was America making a bold move right in front of our eyes of censorship and First Amendment rights. No matter how much we disagree with someone, we should never push for anything that leads towards censorship. because they always start with a white person. And for every one white person that gets deplatformed, whole organizations of black people get deplatformed the same way. As much as I cannot stand Bill Maher's liberal racist ass, I'm never going to push for him being censored. I'll push for the next black woman that he tries to give him some head. I'll push for her to punch him in the balls or some shit like that. He like messing with black women. Okay, next black woman that Bill Maher try to mess with, act like you about to give him some head, then uppercut him square in the kneezuts. Hit him right in them little small grape-sized nuts. But aim accurately, because you might miss. That's the only thing I'm pushing for. Other than that, he can say what he want to say. So you see this move happening right now in Congress, and you see googly gobs of money being thrown at both sides. From Amazon, owner Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, to Google, #1 media company in the world, to Twitter, #1 news sharing social media company in the world. See what's going to start to happen with Elon Musk jumping on Twitter the way he is. You're going to start seeing less of these type articles get shared. Articles that post information like this are suddenly going to not find their way in the algorithm. That's the move that's coming. The tech company's monopoly needs to be busted. And I hear people say all the time, here's an argument that you'll hear from people. Well, Twitter's privately owned. Facebook is privately owned. They should be able to control who gets to say what. Hold your horses there, feller. AT&T is privately owned. Pacific Bell back in the day, Bell South, SBC, MCI. Y'all remember them old phone companies? Verizon is currently around, privately owned. All of these companies are privately owned. But they're on publicly owned phone lines. Back in the day, phone lines were reclassified as public utilities. Public utilities. The FCC came out with the Public Utility Holding Company Act 1935, meaning the people who own, the private companies who own the public utilities, they couldn't regulate what was said on those utilities because these public utilities were created with taxpayer money. No different than now. The internet was created with taxpayer money. So although companies own private companies on the internet is still taxpayer owned. So since the taxpayers own the internet, companies who make money off the internet should constitutionally not be able to regulate what is said on those lines of communication. And that's what's currently up for debate in Congress right now. We're going to break it down to as plain can be. Because I know y'all got them nerdy ass friends. And it's usually some old nerdy ass nigga.
Well, no, you should have to know. Trump shouldn't say what he said because Twitter's privately owned and no one should, and if they don't want him on, he shouldn't be on.
Punk. People with them old punk ass point of views. Really, you afraid to speak up and to stand up to power. That's really what it is. You really afraid to speak truth to power. That's really what it is. But since the public, you, if you're old enough, definitely your parents and grandparents, taxes, paid for this very internet we own, the companies that make money off of this internet should not be allowed to censor what we say. But you see the tech companies doing what they do to rein in what's going on the internet. So this takes me, we're about to talk a little bit of history. And then when I talk history, I'm going to bring it back today and break down how we as black people can play along this schism that's happening in America. This schism that's only going to get wider. And it's a white on white fight. It's a white on white crime. But we as black Americans, this is something that in our political future, we can play along these divisions. But before I go there, I'm going to take it back in history and then we're going to bring it back to today. You dig what I'm saying? Whenever we're talking about what was going on in the past, what's going on with trust, we always got to take it back to the end of the 19th century going into the 20th century. That's when you had the trust. The trust being a major roadblock in the progress of America. You had the Rockefeller Trust, which owned all of the oil and train lines. You had the J.P. Morgan Trust that controlled all of the money. You had these major trusts that was going on that owned and controlled the way America worked. So in the late 1800s, you had a lot of new political movements like the Populist Party. Their run in 1892, 1896. Mind you, it was the Populist Party, the populist run, that got that schism in America that was going on back then between the poor whites and the rich whites. That schism that was going on in the 1890s is what the black people of Wilmington, Delaware took advantage of and elected the black-run towns of Wilmington in 1898. Gotta remember, a lot of those black people were put into office and oftentimes supported by white candidates, by white constituencies. They were speaking to the needs of what was going on with the trusts and those major trusts basically controlling their daily lives. And black politicians in the 1890s, even after Reconstruction, were able to take advantage and get put in different political positions all throughout the South and some places in the North. Now, them niggas ended up getting run out of town in the Wilmington massacre, but that's something that now we've seen that happen. We get our defenses up. We can take care of stuff like that. But I'm focusing now on how they got there. They got there through taking advantage of schisms within white America. You dig what I'm saying? So, yeah, Wilmington, North Carolina. I said Wilmington, Delaware. I'm thinking about Joe Biden and his sorry ass shag. Wilmington, North Carolina, where Michael Jordan from. Did I say Delaware? Oh my God. I got on my computer screen, I got a picture of Joe Biden and his shag. So Delaware is on my mind. My bad, people. My bad. I'm dyslexic. Wilmington, where Michael Jordan's home city. That one. But the environment that allowed black people to take political power was an environment of black people taking advantage of rifts within white society. We're at that crux again that they were at in the late 1800s going into the 1900s. Now it's the corporations and the conglomerates. Now it's the corporations and conglomerates doing what the trusts were doing back then. Remember I told you about William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst was a major newspaper owner of the time. What he did was he was a political outsider. He wanted to be a political insider, but he couldn't be. He always lost when he ran for office. So, since he couldn't be an insider, he became an outsider. And Hearst was very responsible for running a lot of articles and newspapers talking about why the trusts need to be busted up. And he wrote, his paper got popular writing in the voice of the so-called common man. That's what made William Randolph Hearst so popular in the early 1800s. William Randolph Hearst was so popular amongst the poor whites, he had the poor whites willing to die for whatever cause he put out. William Randolph Hearst was against President William McKinley, 1900s. He wrote all kinds of negative articles about William McKinley, to the point to where a man at the World's Fair in 1901 went up and killed the President of the United States because of what he continued to read in William Randolph Hearst's newspapers. This is a murder that a lot of people don't even know about. People know about Kennedy dying. A lot of people talk about Lincoln dying. But it's very rarely that people talk about the death of President McKinley in 1901. The trust and the economy was so bad during this time, someone killed the president. That is an example I'm showing you of how divided the nation was. And this was the environment of the nation that black people were building our own political towns throughout the nation. This was when Wilmington it just had gotten burned down, but you had Tulsa that was being built up at this time. You had black nations all throughout the country being built. See, at this time, they had, for the most part, kicked us out of the political process as far as voting goes. And when the thing that happened in Wilmington happened in that all-black town, that all-black political leadership got run out, black people, for the most part, started pulling back from politics and started focusing on ourselves. While white America was dealing with the wealthy putting a foot all up in their ass, the same way the wealthy are putting a foot all up in white America's ass now. It's just that white America hasn't all the way woken up to it. But as they wake up to what's going on in America, this is the time for black people to pull back politically and rebuild our Tulsas, rebuild our Wilmingtons, rebuild what we know we can build. And if we're going to interact politically, make reparations our only political agenda. Because literally without reparations, it literally does not matter what else this country does. It don't, for black people, they can have all the monopolies they want. America is a monopoly against black people. So to us, whether this monopoly war wins out with Elon Musk and all of these tech people putting all this money in Congress, black people lose regardless. This has a lot more to do with what's going on with white folks and their problems. So at some point, as politics gets more serious and this fight between the tech industry in America as this thing continues to grow, this is a perfect opportunity for Black America to really build our society up, to focus on our own. We don't have time to fall on the sword for white problems, because I guarantee you they're going to come to us. Laws of nature. The big could only get so big with a skinny bottom before things topple over and crumble. This shit's either going to crumble by policy, by force, or by choice. But what we're going to see in the near future is a lot of your liberals are going to try to get black people on board. And a wedge issue that they're going to be bringing up in the near future, 2022, 2024, your liberal whites and non-blacks, is going to be issues over things like the tech monopoly. Because history repeats itself over and over again. And we're at the point where things are repeating. And when Trump runs again in 2024, he's going to run like Roosevelt ran. Roosevelt used, because to tell you the truth, this is what I pointed out here. When McKinley was murdered, the person that murdered him was someone who had escaped from a mental health facility. It wasn't really about the monopolies. That may have been an underlying factor, but that wasn't the motivating factor. But what Roosevelt did was they put the blame on William Randolph Hearst and his yellow journalism. Hearst's journalism may have been a contributing factor. They did not rule that out. But what they did say is it wasn't the primary factor of McKinley being murdered. But Roosevelt, being the politician that he was, used that murder to counter propagandize William Randolph Hearst. And you saw this fight between media and government. Why am I bringing that up? It's because that's what that's what you're going to start seeing now between the tech industry and government. You're going to start seeing the tech industry put a lot of blame, a lot of the censoring itself on government, when really they're the ones funding the government to make these moves. And you're going to see Trump and these politicians use that issue the same way Roosevelt did for his own political interests. Theodore Roosevelt ended up using that successfully, and he succeeded William McKinley. And Roosevelt ran on the foundation of being someone who was going to bust the trust. He was the trust buster. The fact is, when he got into office, he didn't do much to bust the trust. But that was enough to get him in. Really, when it came to the trust busting, a lot of that goes on Taft. Taft was probably the most successful at busting the trust. But when you look back in history, they usually still give that credit to Theodore Roosevelt. Why am I saying all this again? Why am I talking about all this old white history? We're right here back on the forefront of that right now. Is this a problem in America? Hell yeah, it's a major problem. It's a major problem. But black people got bigger problems. Black people got major problems. Problems that can only be fixed with reparations. So we can expect these tech company giants, Elon Musk, very racist, very extremely racist, according to practices at his Tesla plants nationwide and what's going on within the companies he owns. There's a bubbling of racist complaints about how he runs his companies. At a time, we got Katt Brown running for the Supreme Court, the black woman who's had a history of throwing out racism complaints. What we're seeing here is a circling of the wagons of the white supremacists. And what we're going to see in the near future, and we're seeing it right now, but even more in the near future, is a strangling of white folks' freedom. See, one thing I got to give white folks credit for is they don't take kindly to losses in freedom. Niggas, we've been so conditioned over the last 400 years of being slaves. I appreciate the Cash App, Star. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. We've gotten conditioned to our freedoms being taken from us. But white America hasn't. So white America bites back and fights back at any and all threats to their freedom. And when white America fight back to white America, they get real nasty with it. Again, going back to the killing of President McKinley. White folks shot Ronald Reagan, killed both Kennedy brothers. And I'm not pushing for killing. I'm not pushing for that. That's not what I'm pushing for. But you go back to Ruby Ridge in the 90s, the Branch Davidians in Waco, Timothy McVeigh bombing the Oklahoma City building. When white people feel a death to their freedom and their free speech, they push back really hard. We're going to be seeing a lot of that in the near future. A whole lot. So black folks, this is our time to sit back and watch the bullshit unfold. Be observers. This time around, stay the fuck out of it. Okay? Reparations. This is a political schism that we can play upon. This is a political divide that we can use to our advantage. Because one thing about white people, their history, the European, the Caucasian, their history is a history of war. The longest time of peace the Western and Eastern European has had, specifically the Western European, the Anglo-Saxon, the longest period of peace that they've had since the fall of the Roman Empire has been the time between World War II and now. World War II was over in 1945. We're in the year 2022. This is by far the longest period of peace Western Europe has had amongst itself. Now, Eastern European, they right back at war. Hell, they was in war in Crimea in 2014, Kosovo 1998, the breakup of the USSR 91. Them niggas stay in war. But that's because it ain't that many black people over there in Eastern Europe. The Western European, the United States, England, France, they have a sizable black population that they can set aside their personal issues with to focus on. So Black America has always been the peace of Western Europeans. Western Europeans only don't fight each other when they're focused on us. And a major issue of that has been our problem. A lot of that falls squarely on us. Because every time these white folks, these Europeans are getting ready to fight each other, we want to jump in the middle and play Captain Saber Cracker. It's always us that be jumping in they fights, taking sides. And then when they're done, when having a war amongst each other, when we black folks did most of the goddamn killing, they get back together, dust themselves off, and go back to ruling over us. Crispus Attucks was the first person to die in the Revolutionary War. Why don't white crime between white America and white Britain? And I know because I have family that's fought in every single war, including the Revolutionary War. I saw my 11 times great-granddaddy. I saw his card signing up, handwriting. Same with the Civil War. People forget the Civil War was only 80 years after the Revolutionary War. 70 years. When the North and the South fought, what if black people stayed out of it? What if we stayed out of it, and then when they were done fighting each other, we take the guns and fight for our own damn freedom, separate from both of them? What if we did that? One reason why I don't talk about the Buffalo Soldiers, because it was the Buffalo Soldiers that helped Theodore Roosevelt win the Battle of San Juan in 1898 in the Spanish-American War, a war that was instigated by William Randolph Hearst. You see how all these names keep coming back up? The Battle of San Juan, and the United States won the Spanish-American War. When if we stayed out of it, that'd be one less colony for these crackers to own and knock us over the head with using their resources. It was the Buffalo Soldiers that cleared out the West, who cleared out the Sequoia National Forest here in California, the Buffalo Soldiers. It was us, black people, that won the West for the United States of America, only for the United States to sign the Fugitive Slave Act and send free black people that may escape to the West, send them back to their plantations. It's always us jumping in the middle of their shit, saving white supremacy. And then when white supremacy goes back to being white supremacy, we get mad. We talk about how unfair the system is. We need rights. We need to march. We need this and we need that. While we the main ones fighting in the middle of they shit, they wars to uphold their union. We the main ones fighting in the middle of that shit and then getting mad when they go back to being who the fuck they are. Let us be the first generation that's intelligent enough to not jump in the middle of their shit. Let them fight. Because I'm telling y'all right now, white America, they can only fight verbally. They can only be democratic with one another for so long. We're not dealing with a group of classy people here, people. We're dealing with a bunch of thugs who all they know is how to kill. And they've been killing each other way longer than they've been killing us. Our issue is we're interacting with their story. Their story is a story of violence. Their story is a story of killing. Their story is a story of monopolizing resources. We keep jumping in the middle thinking we gonna show these motherfuckers some humanity when all we do is help one side win, and the side that win just gives us their version of white supremacy. That's what we do. We get in the middle of their shit. Well, I'm telling y'all right now, I see what's coming. I see what's coming. Because historically in this country, every time the powers that be, the super wealthy, every single time they've gotten to the point to where they almost have complete control of what's going on, boom, war breaks out. Or something happens to disturb the status quo, and the wealthy parasitic elite, they get to points to where they get to control most of it. But every time they've gotten to that point to where it looks like they're about to control all of it, this country's gone through revolution. Every single time. 1690. The Stono Rebellion, I forgot what year Stono, but from the Stono Rebellion to the Bacon's Rebellion to the Revolutionary War to the Civil War to the Roaring Twenties, when white on white crime was at an all-time high 100 years ago this decade. This country don't go long. These Europeans don't go that long before they get to fighting each other. So as these motherfuckers get to fighting each other, this is the time for us to kick back. Hit me on the Cash App. I say, you say you can't find my Cash App? It should be, it's right there on the screen. $ DwannBrown. I just got a Cash App a few minutes ago. It should be working. It should be working. It should be working. I just got a few Cash Apps. Thank y'all. Shit. I just got a few Cash Apps. Thank you, Rashawn. Thank you, Darrell. Thank you, Maltravis, for the Cash App. I appreciate that. So this is what's going on. We're at the crux of some good old white-on-white violence, white-on-white problems, white-on-white fights. That's where we are, people. But this time, let's just sit back and watch. And if they decide to come to us, and they will come to us, reparations, cash payments for the descendants of the enslaved and freed men of the United States that were here during the time of slavery. I'm fine with what Brother Tariq says, 1870 census. I'm also fine with the state of California saying any census of the 19th century would do. Because again, the amount of immigrants that came the 35 years after slavery ended in the United States during the 19th century was negligible. I would like that we add that you have to currently identify as black. That's the only thing I want to add to it. That people currently identify as black, and they have to have identified as black their whole lives. They have to have been born black, been registered as black during their school time, black when they apply for those grants, loans, scholarships, and jobs, and black now on their driver's license. That's how I like to modify it. But we'll discuss that as we move forward. Reparations is our only political agenda. And as these white folks go to fight each other, like I said they will, reparations. And if they say no, and they will say no, especially right away, that means they don't need us that bad. They can go back to fighting each other. And like I'm telling y'all, white people only fight each other for so long before it erupts into full-on violence. Hell, look up the Hellenistic period in Europe. Just Google and read up on the Hellenistic period. That time between they had a little bit of civilization with the Greeks, wasn't much at all. And the Romans, look up that Hellenistic period. Look up the medieval period. Look up the Dark Ages. Look up anything that has to do with Europe when they're not in contact with black people. The only time they're ever, let me say it one more time, EVER, ever civil towards one another is when we are the common enemy, is when we're around. The Christians versus the Moors versus the Muslims. The Christians versus the Moors. They can only be civil towards one another when we're not involved. So the best political strategy we have as black people is not being involved. Let them fight it out. Europeans hate themselves. European Americans, I should say specifically, hate themselves. Why do I say that? Because the whole concept of whiteness, the definition of white, is basically not being black. They proudly take on this affirmation of white. They leave their cultures behind, their Dutch, their Spanish, their Italian, Anglo-Saxon, Frank, Vandal, Ostrogoth, Visigoth, whatever that is, they leave it behind and become American, white American. What does white mean? It means better than black. That's all it means. It means politically on top of the classification black. There is no positive affirmative definition of whiteness. Whiteness is based on being anti-black. So if an individual or group base their esteem on what is not, that means they don't have a positive viewpoint of themselves. Which is why the only time they're ever civil towards one another is when they're being uncivil towards us. Leave the process, black people. These are tea leaves on the wall that I'm pointing out right here in this articles. This is where it's headed. This is where it's going. If Congress don't do it, which they won't, the people will. The white people, I should say. Black people, stay out of it. We have one word when they come to us: reparations. This is another article that came out today. Of all of the job openings that have been happening with COVID-19, black men are still left out of the job market disproportionately. They have all of these articles up saying that there's all these open jobs, the economy's booming again, people are back working. Yet white America still has not found a way to hire black people, while bringing in over 100,000 Ukrainians. That's after they said they're bringing in all these Afghanis. They're bringing in all of these foreign people when black people are still being systematically excluded from the workforce. That's why reparations is our only agenda. I'm pulling this up. I'm just bookmarking it. He said, team investor opportunities in the big three? Huh. I might have to put some money into this. I'm sorry. I'm over here getting sidetracked. I just saw this article on Ice Cube opening up investor opportunities for the big three. I might have to get in on that. Back to what I'm talking about. Now, DeAndre, we're not on the cusp of another Gilded Era, brother. We've been in the Gilded Era, and we've been in the Gilded Era this whole century. The wealth gap since the tech industry has come online and gotten really big over the last 20 years. I can pull up articles from 2009 showcasing how the wealth disparity in 2009 was larger than it was during the Gilded Era. We are in a Gilded Era, and we've been in a Gilded Era this whole century. So pushback is coming. this is the time that we bow out, let the white folks fight over this shit. And when they come to us, either reparations or they can keep fighting. But what did I say first? Reparations. It ain't gonna be help us with this fight and we'll give you reparations afterwards. Hell no. Fuck and no. After the reparations checks have cleared, we'll decide whose side to take in this fight. But until those reparations checks have cleared, the issue isn't big enough for us to get off, to stop building our new Black Wall Streets. The same way during the Gilded Era, we built our own towns around this nation, is the same thing we're doing right now. And when I say town, I don't mean physical towns, that's great too. But we have online communities. You build yourself up. We can trade online. We don't have to live in the same city to be a part of the same economy anymore. If one person in the chat room is someone who is a mason, someone who builds things, someone who works with your hands and builds houses, builds malls, you build buildings, you can work with Quan, who's in the chat room, who's an architect. You ain't got to be in the same city to work together on major projects. There are tech people in here. Shouts out to our brother Michael Wharton, who does a lot of stuff with Tariq. He's a tech guy. He has his New Black Media Archives. I have graphic designers that design all my t-shirts and shit. When you build yourself, you can work with other black people who have complementary skills. We don't need to be in the same city to build the new Black Wall Street. The new Black Wall Street is happening online, folks. We focus on building ourselves as individuals. Build our economy as a group by collectively, economically, working cooperatively, economically online. Jordan Henley said, Jordan, you do animated ads, Jordan Henley? Inbox me. Inbox me, Jordan Henley. I might need some of them services. info@hotepish.com. Inbox me. See, we use this time, black folks, to build ourselves. As white folks continue to fight each other, we let them fight and we build. And we interact with them politically on one condition: reparations. If they ain't ready to come off that reparations bag, whatever political issues they have, they're obviously not important enough. Because if that political agenda they have is important to them, they should be willing to concede on what's important to us. And if they're not willing to concede on what's important to us, we're not willing to stop to take time away from building our economy. That's where we at, people. That's how we use history as a lesson for today. This broadcast has been an example on how to read what's happened in the past as an indicator to what can happen in the future and what we're going into. We're in a new age. We're in a new world. Be smart about how you interact with this world politically. Be smart. All right. All right. Man, it's a lot going on. I got my, for those of you who I want to support everybody who's gotten a t-shirt. Get one of the t-shirts. Hotepish.com/shop. The music family tree is coming soon. Hey, did I show y'all a mock-up of the tree? It's gonna look better than this. This is the bare bones of the tree. This is the bare bones of my music family tree that's coming out. It's gonna be t-shirts. We're gonna have a different version as an NFT. It's gonna be available on Canvas. It's gonna be available in poster format. Don't screenshot this, do no dumb shit, because this is not, if I see y'all out there with this and I know it's the wrong one, because this one here is not organized properly. This is just a bare bones. This isn't the final draft. It's more to it. It's more to it. It's more to it. But the tree, this is the bare bones version of it. It's going to be more artwork put in on top of the tree. It's going to be more put on the tree. But this is going to be on incenseandashtrays.com. This is what's coming. You see how I got this is a very extremely rough draft of the tree. So stay tuned for that. I would take calls, but I got Craig Fast later on, so. And I got a show to go to tonight, so I'm done talking for now. I remember Craig Facts Live. I'm glad. Oh yeah. I'm glad it came up. If you in LA, if you are in LA or in Southern California, come see us live. Come see Craig Facts Live this weekend. We will have a fuck ton of comics. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But come see me. Type in the coupon code DWANN, DWANN. Craig Facts Live, Saturday, April 9th, Studio 402 West Pico Boulevard. Come check us live. Put in my name in the promo code. And then if you already got your tickets, make sure you come kick it with us after the show. Come say what's up. Let me know who you are. Put a face to your internet profile. Thank you, Quan. Yes, that tree is definitely trademarked already. The tree is already copywritten. The tree is already copywritten. That's part of the reason why you guys haven't seen the final tree yet. The tree is already copywritten. And the image is trademarked under Incense and Ashtrays. But I'll see y'all later on Craig Facts. Remember this. There are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up the game. My name is Dwan B. I'm out.